Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. This video I'm going to be covering basically the basics and the history of LSD, or lysergic acid dithylamide. It's a hallucinogenic and psychedelic drug. It's a pretty interesting drug actually yeah, let's get right into the video. Okay, so the history of LSD is, I've got my notes here, by the way. I'm sorry, it's somewhat unprofessional, but we're just going to roll with it. So the history of LSD is actually pretty interesting. It was first synthesized by Albert Hofmann in 1938. He actually created it from lysergic acid, which is a chemical found in the ergot fungus. He originally didn't even know what he was making or testing, so when he took it, he went on a bike ride and just started hallucinating, and his mind was basically blown. In the 1950s, the CIA used LSD as a mind control drug, or a test of a mind control drug. Their results were quite disappointing. It was called MK Ultra. That's what the program was called. The drug is Schedule 1 in the United States, which means it's illegal to possess. It has no proven medicinal use. Okay, so let's get into precautions. So before you do LSD, make sure you are in a comfortable place with people you are comfortable with. Your environment is everything when it comes to LSD. Also, make sure you have a ride home, or you get home somehow. You call an Uber, or do it at your own house. But try to have a trip sitter. That's important, but do not drive on it. That is a dick move. You are not only putting yourself at risk, but other people at risk. Also, combining it with SSRIs. Now, I couldn't really find any proven information on if this causes serotonin syndrome. According to anecdotal reports, SSRIs such as sertraline, aka Zoloft, or Lexapro actually weaken the effects. Okay, so how it works. So LSD mainly binds to the serotonin and dopamine receptors. This actually makes LSD atypical because most psychedelics do not affect the dopamine receptors. Most hallucinations don't bind to the dopamine. The drug acts as an agonist to the D2 dopamine receptors. It also binds to most of the serotonin receptors except for the 5-HT3 and 5-HT4 serotonin receptors. The effects. So the typical effects of LSD are hallucinations, visual distortions, euphoria, sensory distortions. It shows very little risk of addiction, but tolerance can develop with repeated use or habitual use. It takes 30 to 40 minutes to kick in and lasts 8 to 12 hours. Bad trips. Now, bad trips are almost never caused by the LSD itself. It's rather caused by the mental state of the user. If you want to kill a trip, there are a couple ways. The first way is using a benzo. So a benzo will actually help with the anxiety and the paranoia, but it will not necessarily stop the hallucinations. The best way is using an antipsychotic, such as Thorazine or Seroquel. These actually act as antagonists, so it reverses the dopamine and serotonin receptors. This is absolutely the best way to kill a bad trip. These are mainly prescribed for insomnia, schizophrenia, anxiety. There's a bunch of reasons, but it shouldn't be too hard to come across. Okay, so let's get into the side effects. So the main side effects are anxiety, delusions, paranoia, nausea, high blood pressure, shaking, tremors tremors, dry mouth or extra saliva in the mouth, tingling, sweating, physical weakness, tiredness, and overdosing on real LSD has never been reported, so you shouldn't have to worry about that there. Unless you mix it. I have heard of people mixing it, but I'm not sure if that's actually true. If someone were to overdose on LSD, it's because it's not real, and it's either a synthetic type or a research chemical, so you shouldn't have to worry about it in that area. Myths and urban legends. So the first one is more of a misconception rather than a myth, but I would kind of classify it as a myth. LSD, the trip is nothing like you see in the movies. You don't like get fucking transported to another world where you see fucking demons and aliens and the trees grow faces and shit. It's much more of a it's much more of an internal, like it's a mind state that you're in. You do see, don't get me wrong, you do hallucinate. You do see like your things wavy, faces might be distorted. I heard looking at your hands is really cool because you could see everything, just like the whole universe, if that makes any sense, within your hands. But it is nothing like it is in the movies. That I think it's because there's really no way to put it on a screen. You need to actually experience it in your brain. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing like it is in the movies. Okay, so now the urban legends. The first one is that if you do LSD 7 times, you are legally insane. That is absolutely not true. The story of a babysitter putting her a baby in an oven while high on LSD, that is not true. Blue star tattoos, lick and stick, where if you lick it and put it on you, you trip, that isn't true. LSD retained in the spinal fluid, that isn't true. This one, sun gazing, people who tripped on LSD sun gazed, and they sun gazed so long they went blind. That one's kind of funny. Strychnine poisoning. Now this one is a very common one, where apparently strychnine is used as a preservative in LSD, but this has never been proven. Strychnine is a highly toxic pesticide, so you can see why someone wouldn't want that in their bodies, but there's been no evidence that that ever happened. And permatrips and permatrips do not exist. They are a myth. I have heard many stories about people who apparently permatripped, where they trip forever, I'm assuming. Now, flashbacks are real. They do happen. That is a real thing. But let's get into some more funny urban legends. So the first one is Orange Juice Man, where a man did LSD and went insane and thought he was either an orange or a glass of orange juice. That one, not true. This one is my favorite. So a group of kids tripped on LSD, and then they went out and picked up a gnome and brought it home, and when it wore off, the gnome turned out to be a child, a lost child. This one I actually heard in health class when I was in 7th grade, that people tripped and thought they could fly, so they jumped off a building and landed on the street and died. Not true, not true. That one is my favorite. In conclusion, LSD is probably one of the safest, if not the safest, recreational drug to do. It's actually being studied for use in alcoholism, drug addiction, anxiety, depression, and PTSD, and it's showing promising results. It is absolutely ridiculous that this is Schedule 1, because it's a spiritual thing, it's a psychological thing. It really affects you. Apparently affects you just really good, and you have to do it once. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this new series I'm starting called I think I'm gonna call it The Basics of. So basically you learn the basics of random drugs. So if you want to leave a suggestion in the comments for another video, that would be much appreciated. But anyways, I will see you guys later. Goodbye.